guys, welcome back. Finally, I can say welcome back to my channel because I have more than 2 videos on my channel and I feel like I'm starting to get a bit used to YouTube now. But my name is Georgiana. If you don't know me, I own a small candle shop in Amsterdam. It's home-based, so everything that I do is just here in this little room, which is my studio. And this April was my 3-year anniversary of launching my brand. I started making candles at the end of 2022. So in December-ish, I started making it as a hobby. And then in April 2022, I launched. And I just, I was just thoughtful. I was just thinking about how this process and journey was. I dwelled a bit on if I should make this video or not, but I was thinking about some mistakes that I made, or maybe things that I would like to do differently. And it's not necessarily just from the first year when I started my brand, but more and more things are coming up, like brand collaborations, or getting paid with working with brands, or accomplishing different type of things. And I just would do things differently. And this can happen to you in your first year of your brand. It can happen to you when you're 5 years in. But these are 5 things that I would have done differently when managing my small business. And I really want to take you and sit you down, and I want you to stay until the end because the last 2 points are super important. There's things that I'm still finding out basically how to manage as I go. I do a lot of research into it, and I think it's going to be a very interesting video with maybe a different perspective on things. I like my intros short, so let's just get into it. I think that I would definitely do different. It doesn't matter at what point you are, you can start doing this now, is to celebrate your small wins. I think owning a small business is quite a strict thing to do to yourself, especially if you're owning it by yourself. I need to sneeze. It went away. So what I was saying is that owning a small business, especially if you're the only person that owns that business, you could get quite strict with yourself. And I think that's a good thing. If you have a small business, you need to be strict, you need to be consistent. You need to lay over some hours where you work, and then you need to do the work. But it can be also a bit quite overwhelming because you're always looking for the next success. You want more orders, you want more views, you want more reach. And when you get it, you just go into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And what I learned in therapy actually is that you should definitely celebrate your small wins, because if you're only going on this adrenaline and being so strict to yourself, even though on the sideline you're actually doing great things, but you're not stopping and celebrating what you did, you're not gonna go on like that for much longer. Let's take this example. If you usually get like 5 orders a week, and this particular week you got double the orders, like 10 orders, you might be like, oh yeah, that's cool, nice, let me just pack them, and then you get into the zone. But can you please take 2 minutes to just appreciate that your hard work got you 10 orders this week? If usually your Instagram videos get around like 1K views, and there's this particular video that went viral for your channel and has like 20K views, a lot of us are just like, oh my God, I need to replicate this. How do I do this again? And you don't take the time to appreciate that 20,000 people saw your video. They might have not all of them engaged with it, but still, that's quite a big visibility for your product. This sometimes happens also because we compare ourselves to other people, and we're like, yeah, okay, I got 20K views, but for this creator is like a normal thing. I'm telling you, you need to ground yourself to realize how far you've come. Even when it's like this, of like me realizing that in April, my brand turned 3 years old, I didn't even celebrate. I didn't celebrate at all, and I should have, because I was consistent or semi-consistent, it doesn't matter, for 3 years. Moods is still here. So why not celebrate that? I'm super guilty of this, and I realized that I never celebrated any of my following wins, so to say. When I reached 10K on TikTok, or 50 or 100K, I was like, oh yeah, cool, okay, yeah, nice. But I didn't sit down and tell myself, well done, you worked so much. No, it was the next thing and the next thing. And this happened also with my following on Instagram as well. And today I just hit 60K, and I literally just closed myself in the room. I texted 3 of my friends to tell them, hey, look, I reached 60K, something that I never did before. And I was really proud of myself. I've never done this to share with other people because I always thought people don't care, but I think you should celebrate it. Celebrate your small wins, because this will give you more fuel to do better things for your brand, you know? It balances things out. If I was back like 2 years ago, I definitely would take it more seriously, because when I set my priorities right and when I started to be consistent, things definitely changed for me. No more like, oh, I'm hangovered, I don't really feel like being on camera, or I'm hangovered and I don't want to film a video, I don't feel good, or I need to go out for the 4th time this week and meet friends. It just doesn't work like this. You need to balance it in a way. And for me, definitely, I'm 100% sure that in my first 2 years, I didn't really find it such a priority. And I dwell on it a bit because I think it was maybe not the best decision, because I'm thinking where Moods could have been now if I gave it everything since 2022, since I started it. Really commit to it. Like, take your time, schedule a couple of hours in your week, you know, do the work. You always learn something, you know, from starting a small business. You learn a skill, so it's never a waste of time. If you take it seriously, you can actually see results. You know, I wish me from the future would go back to Georgiana since then and be like, can you please take it seriously, because this thing is gonna work. If you watched already some of my videos, you probably know about this, but my next point is, don't rely just on one social media platform. If you create something yourself, you might kind of need to show it on social media. That's the case for the majority of us. And I made a stupid mistake for the first 2 years and a bit, just focusing on Instagram, and I didn't see any growth. I must say, again, I didn't take it super seriously. I wish I would have told myself early on to put it on more platforms. For example, I did not consume Instagram at all. I wasn't really on Instagram, but that was where my business was. I loved TikTok, obviously, like everybody during the pandemic. And also, since I was super young, I watched YouTube. But I never thought, oh, let me just maybe post on YouTube, or let me just maybe post on TikTok. So I kind of blocked myself onto one platform that was not getting any type of success. I think my brand was really not visible. And it's just because of a choice that I did, because I don't know why. Georgiana, why did we do that? I can't get it out of my mind why I didn't start TikTok and YouTube earlier. And even YouTube, I just started posted. I think I posted my first video in February. Every post that you make can be your key to success. I really wanted to give up on Moods because nothing was happening on Instagram, and then I started to post on TikTok, and I realized that I would get way more views than on Instagram. So that was a bit like, okay, let me see what this platform is about. Let me be a bit consistent. When I started to show consistency on TikTok, that platform really kicked off. You know, even though I did the same thing on Instagram, but it just didn't work there. You don't need to make different content for these different platforms. Maybe obviously YouTube is a different thing because it's a different style, but you can always post on YouTube Shorts. It was just a bit silly. It's definitely something that I would not recommend. Just make a batch of posts and just spread it across all of the social media. Use YouTube, use TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, any type of thing. Make sure that your work is out there so people can discover it. Limiting yourself to only one social platform not only is gonna make you frustrated because yeah, maybe it's gonna be a hit, maybe not, but it just doesn't give you a lot of flexibility either. A good thing about choosing different type of platforms is that if you have the time, you can also target to different type of audiences, right? For example, let's say as an example, on YouTube, it can be your main platform to make like educational content that really connect with the small business community. On Instagram, it could be more just like product shots so people can really see your products, you know? And on TikTok, you can just be a bit funny, you know? You can show your personality, you can connect with people in a different way. Also, Instagram stories, it's its own thing where you can really build a community and talk to the people that support you. Spread yourself to all of the platforms because your product needs to be seen. Set clear boundaries and contracts with other brands. Now, you might think that this doesn't really affect you because you're a small brand and you didn't have the chance to work with anybody yet, but it's gonna happen. And you kind of need to be prepared for it. I launched my brand in April 2022, and to my crazy surprise, in May already a different shop wanted to work with me for me to put the candles in their store. To be really honest, I didn't even care I was like, I can't believe somebody wants to work with me. So I didn't really care about the contract. I really didn't care about things like this or payment. I understand you're excited, but just set yourself back, breathe, and remember that you are valuable and that you need to have a proper contract that also benefits you as well. It doesn't matter if you're like in your first month and owning a brand or if you're 3 years in. I see it myself because I start to get a lot of brand collaborations and brand deals, and I caught myself that I would just not even think about it and just accept it without even setting like the terms that I would like to work with. To give you an example, I think it was in January, and this huge makeup brand, like huge, 60% of my makeup products are from them, but they wanted to make specific candles that looked exactly like one of their products. I just didn't even think about logistics or how much money is gonna take it for me to make that product or how much research, hours. I didn't care. I said yes. And I just offered them a price that was ridiculous. I'm gonna get into pricing later as the last point. I just started making the prototype of this product without any contract, without any prior payment. I just lost about like a month of researching, making silicone molds, making 3D molds, putting so much pressure on myself because the product just didn't go how I envisioned. And I realized that, okay, I can't make what I thought I could. So I just sent them like the prototype and how it would look. And they said, thanks, we're gonna get back to you. We see if the project goes through or something like this, and never responded, never contacted me again. I felt super shitty because I just wanted so much to work with this brand. But then I realized, I put on paper and I realized how many hours I worked and how many materials I used. You know, I paid external third parties to make like 3D molds of different type of things. And I didn't get a thing out of it. Of course, you know, it's exciting, you know, to when you think, okay, I'm gonna work with this big brand, but just set up contracts, because I think it would have been reasonable for them to pay me an amount for me to start testing if that is a possibility that I could do for their brand. And I think that's like a normal thing to ask. Also, when working with bigger brands, even if you have a contract to sign, don't be afraid to add your own terms as well. Not everything needs to be based on their terms. Don't be afraid to negotiate with brands. I now regret a lot of times how I acted within collaborations, the fact that I didn't really set clear instructions for contract terms. I would just go in, I would say, yes, that's perfectly fine. You take care of the contracts, and they would just give me a contract. Then I wouldn't say anything, you know, hey, maybe actually I wouldn't like that, even though I felt it. So what this means, and I think what I want to say, is just to speak up for yourself and make sure that everything is on paper, even if it's in an email. Don't just discuss over the phone and not have anything prepared. Having an agreement in place really clears any type of like miscommunication, or there's so much clarity, right? Your points are right there. If somebody doesn't comply with the contract, then you can discuss because there's a signed document. It just doesn't leave room for misinterpretation, I think. And when you're already busy working probably on other things like new collections, social media, you don't want to waste hours dwelling on, oh, I should have done that, I should have done that. Just straight up, if you have a collaboration with somebody, if it's gifted or not, you should have a contract set in place that you send to them. I'm telling this also to myself because I also got a lot of times during last year and even this year, I just didn't think about that because I was so excited about what I'm working on that, you know, I forget. I'm not like a finance person. I'm not like a person that needs to send contracts and to sign and do this. And I don't necessarily like the admin side of it. I like creating. I liked making photos, videos, posting on social media, creating the product, testing it. That's what I truly love, you know. So when it comes to this admin part, I think it took me a while to really stand my ground, understand that even if the brand ghosts me or doesn't respond to me, then I made the best decision. I don't need to agree to the terms of a company just because it's a bigger company. I need to agree to the terms of my own morals and how I also view how things need to go through. So maybe allocate a couple of days and just make sure that you have like a standard thing that works for you, and then you can just send it to the brand and you can both see, okay, does this align maybe you need to make certain type of changes to make sure that you take into consideration what the other brand wants as well, because this needs to be a joint agreement. It's not of like, I want this, if you don't want this, then fuck off, you know? Like, be understanding, give the other brand a chance to read it, to add certain type of things. You know, this is a way that you really realize if you want to work with each other or not. And it saves you a lot of time if you do this at the beginning, because then you don't waste a lot of time, materials, money on working already on a collaboration that maybe you don't align with. Let me tell you a little story. 2 years ago, no, it was 1.5 years ago. When was it? It was a year and like 2 or 3 months ago. I got a crazy opportunity to work with a coffee brand. It's not Nespresso. I'm just gonna say it right now. I love them, and I also love the other brand, but I'm not gonna say the name of the brand. And I got this opportunity to work with this brand, and they were super awesome. They wanted in total around 150 candles. It's a collaboration that stays in my mind so much because I know I could have nailed it, but I was just too naive. First of all, I just couldn't say no because I really wanted to work with this brand. It's a huge brand, and I was like, yeah, okay, fine. But I was also scared that if I put my pricing to what is the true pricing based on how much time it takes to do this, time, that is spent to make the candles, and also the materials and also the shipping and everything, they're probably gonna say no because it's way too much. I don't recall exactly, and I don't want to look back because it traumatized me only when I think about how much I asked for 150 candles that would come also like in a nice gift box. It couldn't have been more than 700 euros. It couldn't have been. That means it was like 4.60 euros per candle. 4.60 euros per candle. I want to be very clear that this brand didn't do anything wrong. It was only me, and all of it went wrong because of me and the fear of asking to be paid my worth. I was so afraid that this brand is going to reject me, that I did such a poor job. And that's because I didn't ask for more money, so I just didn't have the money to invest in better products. To this day, remember that moment when I now negotiate my payment. And I'm actually glad that happened. I'm super sad that it happened with that particular brand, but I now remember why I need to price my items correctly. Granted, I didn't have a lot of brands reaching out in the first 2 years to pay me for content, but now I think with Moose blowing up a bit, I have gotten quite a lot of collaborations and requests, and let me just be transparent with you. A lot of these people don't want to pay. What I would definitely advise you is not to work without getting proper pay or paid to the value, because you're probably owning a small business because you want to make money, and it's a smart thing to diversify your income, because if you only think about like, okay, people placing orders, that can be very unpredictable. So working with other brands where they might pay you for different type of engagement, posts, workshops, whatever it might be, it's really smart to take a moment and see what the costs are, if you can do it, first of all, and just think through it. My motto, for example, I don't really accept gifted collaborations. So I accept gifted products if people want to give me gifted products, if they work with what I'm doing, for example, like the wax melter that I received, I will accept it and I will use it and I will show it in my videos. But what I don't do with gifted collaborations is I don't do it by the terms of what the business wants. And this is something that I learned from a different YouTuber that he does like, I think, makeup and skincare and stuff like this. And he said this great thing from which I got inspired is that if I get a gifted collaboration, you're not paying me money, why are you telling me what to do in my video? If I like the product, I'm gonna show you, but you're not gonna tie me up to an agreement without me getting paid. Because making a video or promoting actively a product without getting paid, just a bit silly, because you're putting so much work into it and promotion of another brand just for a product that, might cost 100 euros, 150 euros. And I'm telling you, the work that you're putting in is definitely more valuable than that. So yeah, I do work on gifted collaborations, but I set my own terms. If I want to post a video, I will. If I don't, I don't. I have actually a very interesting story with a gifted collaboration regarding this. I'm not gonna say the name of the brand, But I remember it was, let me be transparent with you, it was the first gifted thing that I got, and I got it last year. And I already was excited and I was making the video, you know, so I had the video ready. I think I might have showed it to the brand just to be completely transparent. But I remember the brand came back and they were like, can you please make sure you use this hashtag, tag us, put a comment on your video, link our product in the bio of your TikTok. And I was like, okay. And then maybe mention this or show this feature. And I was like, whoa. wait. Your product is like 130 euros online, something like this. And I appreciated the fact that you sent me the product because I already had it, I already made a video. But I made it very clear, again, I didn't sign any type of agreement, but I made it very clear in my email that you sending me that product, I'm not tied up to a specific post that I need to post with your guidelines. And they came back and they were like, you know what, just post a video like this, then it's fine, but just make sure you use this hashtag. And I was like, no, I don't know, I'm sorry, it might seem a bit mean-spirited, but I was like, no, I'm just not gonna do it because I just don't like the way you try to pressure me into doing this. And I know this brand is doing this to other people. I just really liked what this YouTuber said, and I thought for me it made a lot of sense. I'm not forcing anybody to send me any type of products, and I'm really, if I like a product and I use it, you're gonna see it all the time in my videos. A thing that happens with payment as well that I think you should be aware is that a lot of brands like to pay you after you did your work. This is really subjective. I don't know, with some brands I accept that, with some brands I don't. I am trying to push myself to be more assertive and be like, no, I want payment up front, or at least 50% and then 50% after. I don't want to be a hypocrite because I definitely accepted late payments from brands because, again, it was a brand that I really wanted to work with. So I was like, okay, maybe with this one I can make an exception, but be very wary of that, especially if you don't have a contract. When payment gets involved, I think definitely you should have a contract with specific terms where both you and the brand sign it. Small tip, I know a lot of people are like, I don't really know how to price these things. So for example, how do I price videos that I post on Instagram or TikTok if I get a collaboration request? Just do your research and see, based on how many followers you have, what is the type of payment. You can even ask ChatGPT. When it comes to creating a product from scratch for somebody, just definitely take the payment upfront or 50% and check how much time, because your hours also should be in that payment plan, you know, how much time it takes you, how much the material costs, and then price it correctly. These are 5 things that I will definitely do differently, and I would think a bit more when it comes to owning a small business. Remember, it's all part of the process. These things you're gonna learn as they come. Even these last 2 points that I talk about setting contracts and pricing, this is something that I'm in year 3 of my business and I'm learning every day what to choose, how to do. I just wanted to share some points that I think are important when it comes to how you should view your business and celebrate what you do. I think we really get caught up doing and we don't set back ourselves and be like, hey, I'm actually valuable. This product that I make is valuable, you know, I'm working hard for it, so I should get paid, I should appreciate myself, I should put my time into this more. But please take it easy. I trust you. I just trust the process, you know. Everything in the end is gonna be fine. And it's such a nice adventure owning a small business because you go through so many things and you learn so much. And I also find it super nice to watch these videos from other small businesses where they share their perspective. And I also have a lot of fun making them. I hope that at least, you know, for me, I know I'm not getting crazy views, but I do get sometimes a comment of like, whoa, this video was great. I actually learned a lot from it. I also got a photo of somebody watching me on their TV and there was like my face, and I can't tell you how that feels, you know. It doesn't matter, it takes a long time to research these things and film and edit. It's something that I really like doing. I hope this video was really helpful for somebody, and I will see you next Friday with another video. Ciao!